Hi, everybody. My name is Tom Pompei, and I'm a three-star instructor with Pirelli Natural Horsemanship. And welcome to another Zoom webinar meeting, virtual lesson, or whatever we're going to call it these days. So I'm really excited to be here. We've got a great topic tonight, and that is how do you communicate with your horse in such a way that distance doesn't break down the communication. And we're lucky enough we're down here in Florida off of Pine Island, and this week was a big lesson week. I think I had 16 hours of private lessons scheduled this week. So it was fun to kind of carry my camera around, and we actually shot a few videos this morning of Mike and I playing with the horses. So we tossed a couple of those in as well, because the topic came up this week and it was really great. So I'm really excited to share that with you. First, a little commercial. We're down here in Florida until mid-April, and then we head back to Ohio the last 2 weeks in April. So we're excited about the H&P Equestrian Farm reopening, and we have lots of clinics and events happening up there. The first one is the Wild and Woolly Spring Tune-Up, and that's my favorite clinic, one of my favorite clinics for the year. My favorite clinic's the Level 1 clinic. But it's really one of my favorites because, our horses have been in the mud and in the ice and in the snow, especially this season up north, all season. So it's a great opportunity to bring your horse out into our wonderful, wonderful facility and situation up there, and get yourselves reacquainted and get things going on the right track, so to speak. And it's called Wild and Woolly because there's an old saying: wild and woolly and full of fleas, never been curried below the knees. And I just love that. I think that's great. Also gives us permission for our horses to misbehave in front of everybody. And if you've ever been to one of our clinics, you know that it's not about that. We're so putting the relationship first with our horse, dealing with the horse that shows up that day, and doing all the right things, making a commitment to foundation before specialization, and then making another commitment to never-ending self-improvement. So we love the way that we set up our environment at H&P, and we want you to be there. Speaking of that, there's our focus clinics are happening again, and those are great. I've gotten a lot of really good feedback about our focus clinics. That's 3 half days, and the half day format works nice because it goes from 9 to 1 daily, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then your afternoon is free for private lessons, hang out with your horse, ride or practice, relax in the pool, and the pool's open again this season. There's equine body work with Lynn Reed will be there. Carla will be there with foot reflexology for humans, and we have even more special things lined up. So it's like a education, foundation, play day, all rolled into one. So we just love our facility there, and it was set up just for that. Lots of great things there, and also have a reminder that East Fork is nearly full. So if you're interested in the East Fork Clinic, that's the first week in May. TomPompei.com has all the exact dates, and that's a great clinic as well. And then we have our Horsenality event in October, and just lots of things. We have something for everybody. We've got level 1 clinics, level 2 clinics, level 3, 4 clinics. We've got the focus clinics that are by Savvy, online, Liberty, freestyle, and then lots of finesse work will be possible as we go along into level 3, 4. So lots going on, and I have a great big announcement too. We have a new virtual pack that we've put together, and it's called the VIP Pocket Package. The VIP Virtual Pocket Package. Blah, blah, blah. It's hard to say. And the reason it's called a pocket package is somebody gave me some feedback about the virtual lesson. They said, it's like having Tom in my pocket. And so we're calling this the pocket package. So check that out. It's 6 hours, 6 virtual lessons. And in between, there's little touches in between where you send me a short little 1-minute video of how it's going, and I record a short little 1-minute video to help you or give another example midway in between your lessons. And you can set them up bi-weekly, weekly, monthly, however you want to do it. And the rate is surprisingly good. So come join us with the virtual lessons. There's 2 ways to do it. One is record it, load it up to YouTube, and then it'll be like feeling like this meeting where we go through the video together. Or it can be an actual live one where the camera's up and you have an earphone and I talk to you as I can watch your horse. The last one we did, somebody had a pivo set up Another one, somebody had their husband running the camera. Another one, somebody just put the camera on a tripod and said, "Here's what I'm dealing with." And so it's working really, really nicely, and I'm enjoying the heck out of those. So if you're farther away from me and can't make it, there goes your excuse. Sorry. So come, let's do it. Also, Pirelli.com has a bunch of things coming up. There's one Saturday with Pat. It's a virtual workshop, and it's a couple 3 hours, and he's going to be talk about different topics. There's 2 of those a month, and sometimes it's him presenting it, sometimes it's faculty presenting, and those are really great too. And if you're a Savvy Club member, I believe you get a number of those for free. So check that out at Pirelli.com. There's also a couple of virtual 3-week-long clinics that are being run, and those are really good too. So check that out. Lots of great opportunities as we all come into the spring here and really kind of renew everything. It feels like a lot of renewal. So that's it for that. Oh yeah, hey, the other exciting thing that's happening is these Zoom meetings are going to start a new format. There's going to be a lot more question and answer, questions sent in ahead of time, questions and answers for me. Also some video clips, more video clips of Pat. And it's going to have a slightly different feel to it. And then lots of connections to the Savvy Club too, because I think the Savvy Club resource is one of the most underutilized resources that we have in this Pirelli world. So I want to start incorporating more of that. And then also the exciting news is if you've purchased a lesson package or attended paid for a clinic and attended a clinic this season, we're going to have a special VIP Zoom room that will be just for you only. And that's going to have a lot of content, more of the lesson sharing kind of things, more. So you have a ringside seat for a more in-depth lesson rather than there's nothing wrong with what we're doing tonight, but it's kind of just touching the surface of what happens at these lessons. So if you want to be part of the VIP experience, there'll be more information of that on the website, of course. And our next Zoom is not going to be April, but it'll be May, because we'll be traveling back to Ohio in April. So stay tuned for when the next one is. That's it. Short seminars, 3-week courses, Pat Pirelli, blah, 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 blah. That's it. Cool. We're ready to move on ahead. I saw a hand. Flora had a hand up, but then she put it down. Flora, did I answer your question?
Oh, I think I just said thumbs up.
Oh, good. Oh, it wasn't a hand. It was a thumb. Oh, great. Thank you.
Glad to be here.
Okay, thank you, Flora. Appreciate that. All right, so let's move into it. I've got some old business. We had a wonderful clinic down here. Was it last weekend, Mike? The freestyle clinic, was that just last weekend?
Weekend before.
Weekend before. And everything just kind of mushes together in Tom's mind. It was the free relaxed movement freestyle clinic, and it was really, really good. And for the first time, you remember our horse Styx that I talked about following his timeline. I used him at the clinic for the first time for a full 2-day riding clinic, and he was fantastic. And I just wanted to share that with you that yes, going slow enough for him is correct, but also being provocative was also correct. And so sometimes we can go too slow. Maybe my goals were too much for that horse, and I had to change those goals, but still be provocative. And that clinic was very provocative for me and him. And it was really, really great. I was really pleased. And the biggest change was I rode him 2 days ago, and he was just so much more relaxed, so much more in tune. It was just beautiful. I wish I had the camera on. Of course, nobody sees it when you have those great moments, right? But it really made an impression on him to actually go through that clinic in that relaxed manner like that. So it was especially vital for him. We have another freestyle clinic that's called Relaxed Movement, and Julie Pivison and I will be co-teaching that together. And that's part of that that series up at H&P. That's the focus series. So check all that out. But I wanted to share that. And we have a precision riding clinic coming up in a couple of weeks too. And I'm excited for that one too. That's down here in Florida. So if you're in Southwest Florida, come ride with us. And if you don't think you're ready for that, come watch the clinic. We'd love to have you. It's, I believe it's the last weekend in March. That's it for old business. Now on to communication at longer distances. So the setup for this is really important, that we understand the theory behind this, because I remember in the program, the Pirelli program and the levels program, as we progress through this, level one, it's on a 12-foot line, and we get the communication established. Like, this is the 7 games, and it teaches the human the phases and just the function of it all. And then when we start moving through level 2, we start to get more harmony with that, and then start to really put it to a purpose and riding purpose. And then in level 3, it starts to look pretty handy. And then the distances are a part of that quality. I see a lot of students when they get in from level 2 to level 3, it seems like a huge gap, and that gap can be because of that distance quality. So I'll never forget the clinic I went to. I believe it was my friend Carol Coppinger. Hi, Carol, if you're out there. And we said, well, what would you like to learn? And I said, everything's falling apart when I get past 22 feet. If I get to 23 feet, my horse is just like, I got nothing. And my horse knows I got nothing. And it's just all the communication's just breaking down. And she went, great, we can help that. So she said, okay, everybody, come out with your 12-foot lines. And I went, what? 12-foot line? I'm trying to work on the distance. And she said, I know. and Tom started to think he didn't understand what was going to happen. So what happened was we refined our phases so that our phase 1, which is a suggest, was followed by phase 2, which is an ask, phase 3, which is a tell, and here's the important part, phase 4, which is I promise. And the promise that you make is to follow through with the right pressure, the right way, to take away comfort so that that horse can find the answer and then give comfort. And that promise is also the promise of phase 1 next time. And if we can be consistent with that at a short distance, then the long distance works. And sometimes that long distance works by just 1 foot at a time. So what happened to me was I was getting those light phases on the short, but then when I went to 24 feet, it wasn't working. So I had to retreat back to where I could work. And then pretty soon my horse believed me, and I can go longer and longer distances. So that's part of it. There's no right. I heard Ryan Fouts is wonderful, by the way, and I heard him say today, there's no right or wrong. There's just good, better, and best. So instead of saying, oh gosh, I was doing the wrong thing, I'm thinking, well, there's a better way to help communicate with those farther distances. So the lessons that you see today in the snippets are about that. Here's what often happens, and it happened to me. Look, lift, right? The phases of the drive game, swing, 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 swing. It's not working. Hello, swing, swing. It's still not working, and they're too far away to touch. So maybe that's what happened. The horse didn't believe that I had that promise in me to use or figure out how to use the touch correctly. So sometimes that means shortening your rope back up and establishing that communication again, and then gradually helping that horse with the longer line. Some more psychology can be used. There's a lot of ways, good, better, best, right? There's a lot of different ways to do this, but that's the one that most of the students this week needed, that were having that issue. And then the students we're going to see were very, very brave to allow me to use their videos, because I said, can I show everybody the before picture? And they said, oh yeah, sure. So I have the before and the afters of these. And these particular students are new to the 45-foot line. So they're at that kind of that spot where they're needing to get the farther distances and really be effective. And to be effective is to be understood. And once that happens, it gets really nice. It gets really nice for everybody. So that's kind of the theory behind this. And I mentioned what are qualities, like distance is a quality. So if I'm really short, close to my horse, and I'm able to do it with farther distances, that means I have higher quality. Speed is a quality. Can my horse do it while they're moving fast? Can my horse do it while they're moving slow? It depends. So the speed can be a quality. Lightness can be a quality. Like, how light can I ask? How little does it take? That's a higher quality. Flexion is a quality. Is my horse flexed laterally for it? How about longitudinally for it? And that's kind of can be a quality issue as well. So there's lots of qualities that you can look at. And but I tell you what, horses are expert judges of space and time. They're really, really good judges of distances. So my horse knows exactly how far away my carrot, stick, and string can be, to the inch. And once they kind of play with that and they're beyond where I can touch them, I would hope that I'm operating on phases 1 and 2, maybe phase 3, not having to use phase 4 all the time. That's the quality that we need to get those farther distances. So that's why Carol said, get your 12-foot ropes, come on out here. I said, Carol, it's a level 4 clinic. And we all kind of freaked out. And then we went, oh, we need to be better what phases 1 and 2 close by, then everything starts to work greater. So let's get on to our first video. And this is Beth. And Mike, can you tell if Beth is on here? I don't know if she could make it tonight.
I saw her earlier. Yes.
Is she on? Hi, Beth. If you're here, hi. Thank you. So I'm going to go over to our other video camera. And spotlight that for everyone. And this is the before picture. And this is Beth and Raven. And we actually saw Beth and Raven last one. This was Raven that was herding the goats, if you guys remember that, cutting the goats. So one of Beth's goals with Raven is to help his confidence. And sometimes when he gets faster, he loses his confidence. So we're working on speed and control, emotional control. And so Beth is also new to the 45, so she was having trouble with her transition. So here's what it looked like. And I just need to hit another button here. Watch Beth. I hit the mute button. I guess I didn't. Go. So you can watch and see there's Beth doing phase 1, and watch Beth. And now she's lifted, she's swinging, and he's not even aware she's there. Raise your hand if you felt that. Me. So this is, so now she's having to move out toward him, and she got him to do it, right? But it was not with phases 1 and 2 at that distance. And so she's at probably about 30 feet there. There's a little bit. So that's kind of what was happening. There's a better example out here towards the end, where she's having to kind of go out there and try to spank the ground harder, and then just not real effective. Yeah, so, okay. So now here's what happened after that, and then I'll show you how it happened. So here's the Beth after. And let's see, I have a time code on here so we see it. It's like 08, actually it's beginning. So now watch Beth, and she points and gets an upward transition. Now, if you watch real carefully, she did lift. So I'm going to back this up here a little bit. So watch Beth's rope hand. Back that up some more. That looks cool with the horse going backwards, doesn't it? So there she points, right? And she's got a nice long phase 1. Now look at her left hand. She's lifting. She's swinging. And then he went into the trot. So she will take her hand down in a second. There you go. And now she's going to ask for a canter. And there she got it. So let's go back and watch that real fast because it happened quick. It was very subtle. Ever see a horse canter backwards? So watch Beth again. There's phase one. And there's the canter. Okay, so really way more effective than before. So the question is, how in the world did Beth get that? Well, she got it really quite good. So I think I'll let this play for a moment and we'll see how she did it. So she convinced the horse that she could get out there and touch him without having to run out. So watch Beth again. There, she's got her phase one on to no effect. And right there, there's the magic moment. Whoa, that was handy, Beth. Let's watch again. Unfortunately, Raven was out of camera. Bad camera angle, Tom. Isn't that a beautiful horse? Oh, I love that horse. All right, here goes Beth, pointing phase one. There's phase two. There's phase three. And whee, touches the horse for phase four. Okay, so that is how she convinced that horse that even from back there, she could be effective. So it takes some handiness, right? You got to be handy on your 45. So that's why we wouldn't teach this in level 1. We would not teach this in level 2. We start to teach this in level 3 and 4. And so Beth has been doing a great job. She's only had that 45-foot rope for a few weeks, and she's been practicing coiling and tossing it and getting handy with it. And I don't know, were you guys in what was the warning label on our driving when we were doing zone 5 driving? Never put a body part in a loop. So if you notice, Beth has coils, and she's being real careful not to let any body parts get into those coils. All right, now Beth, I don't know if you gave me permission to do this or not, but I have a blooper shot. So Beth, I hope you forgive me if it's not okay, but I thought the blooper was great. So I got a blooper shot, and this is what happens too sometimes. And it was probably, I'm gonna take responsibility for this because I believe my directions to Beth for this time were to toss the coil regardless, to convince Raven that, isn't that a nice toss? There it goes, touches the horse, woo, and there he goes at the canter, right? So it wasn't without a little angstiness from Raven, but then you'll notice, whoops, forward please. Then you'll notice Beth is reloading, right? And she's ready to load again. Now, the lesson was not maintain gait. The lesson was, can I touch you when you're this far away? So when Raven goes back around again, and I believe I'm going to take responsibility. Like I said, I believe I said to Beth, go ahead and toss it anyway, just so that he's used to it. But here's upcoming is a great example of what will happen if the horse feels like, and I'll explain more what happened in a moment, but the horse felt like it was an unfair deal. Okay, so here we go. Beth remembers what happens, I'm sure. Ah! Raven's like, I am out of here. Whee! That's pretty fun. So here's kind of what happened here, and this happens to all of us, and it's happened to me, and I'm trying to not let it happen anymore. And that is, I mentioned earlier, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and then hanging on for 3 too long and never going to 4. And the horse starts to believe that it's not going to happen. And then all of a sudden, phase 4 happens when it hadn't happened before, and they're offended. Like, how dare you? Because it was, in the horse's mind, it wasn't sequential. And so that's a thing of the past now in Raven after this lesson, where he believes that Beth is going to do that, go to phase 4. But here's kind of what happened. She put her finger up, he cantered, and because Tom probably said throw it anyway, he got so offended. In fact, if you watch, he's even offended back here when Beth doesn't put her finger down. Right there, he's already offended. Look at him. He's like, man, she hasn't really tossed it yet. So here's the other thing that happens. If that happens, especially on a 45-foot line, it can be painful. I mean, that rope could rip right through your hands, and Mike knows that because we have a pull away horse a little bit, no longer. But so what I instructed Beth to do after that point was, hey, why don't we get some gloves? That'd be a great idea. Let's get some gloves, because you can really hurt your hands, and then you're going to be afraid to throw the rope for fear of hurting your hands, and then you're going to hang on phase 3 again. So that was actually early on, and then Beth did put gloves on after that, and boy, it was really nice, like you were seeing, with just the finger and getting those nice responses. Now, if you were watching close, Beth's next question is going to be, well, we need to work on maintain gait, and we certainly will. But the biggest thing was communication at farther distances with that guy. So Beth, thank you. That was awesome. And Beth is probably going to like kick me at our next lesson for showing that blooper, but she's a great sport, and we've all been there. I've been there. I'm still there sometimes. So thank you, Beth. Beth, if there's anything you wanted to add, go ahead and unmute yourself. I don't know if you're here or not, because I can't see all the screen. There, I see Beth.
I have nothing to add. And the blooper was perfect. And it wasn't just once, it was twice that
Right.
happened.
Yeah.
And it was your fault.
Thank you. I take full responsibility.
Just saying.
Thank you, Beth. That's awesome. Sometimes, I like to think of myself as a cartoon character, because I am not afraid to try things. I've always been an experimenter, and within the framework of what fits the philosophies, right? And but somebody asked Pat, and we were talking with Pat Pirelli just recently, the instructors, and somewhere on the Savvy Club, and if you guys know where it is, please text me or email me and let me know where it is. But somewhere there's a video somewhere in the Savvy Club that says never wear gloves on a 45-foot line, and and it's wrong. It is not wrong, but the reason that someone might say don't wear gloves is because when most people wear gloves, it's to hang on tight. And you should not hang on tight on any of these lines. The yachting braid is there to slide through your hand and give drift. Pat will call it drift and teeter, where you can teeter a little bit and drift a little bit, teeter and drift. And it's designed to slide through your hands. But when you have a pull away situation, or a situation like that where you don't want to get a rope burn, by all means wear gloves, but don't use gloves as an excuse to clamp. So that was Pat's answer for that. And he goes, well, that's not exactly right. We shouldn't say never. But if the glove's there to stop you from getting a rope burn, then by all means, that's okay. And then we got to use psychology and phases. Super. All right. This next one is, again, thank you, Beth. That was terrific. This is Marianne. And Marianne's been working, we've seen Marianne before in these things, and she's working with Kid. And her lesson was actually on flying changes, but it turned into a little bit of impulsion lesson and a little bit of using the 45 to toss lesson. So if I can find my way back up. There it is. Hit the more button, spotlight. All right. So here's Kid and Marianne. And it was right at the end was a great example. And Kid's just such an awesome horse, but he will make you struggle for everything, earn everything, I guess is what it is. So Marianne's going to do a change of direction at this canter. Blah, 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 blah. So that's what was going on. So he, Kid is an expert at 23 feet versus 22 feet. He's that kind of horse. So Marianne worked on the same exercise, the tossing the rope, and this was the result. And I think it was pretty dang good. So that starts at 1 minute 20. And you can see she's got her rope ready. She's tossed it. He's sped up. That was a beautiful toss. She's getting ready again. She'll back towards us at 6 o'clock next time around, I believe. There's the backup. There's the speed up into the flying change. Woo! And I am so pleased to see this. So let's watch Kid go backwards. I'm just fascinated. I kind of go backwards in that. And so if you were watching our footfalls, you'll know for canter, it's right hind, diagonal, left front, right hind, diagonal, left front. And then as he comes around here and Marianne speeds him up, right there is the change. So watch again. So I'm not sure Marianne believed me that she got the flying change. Right. Well, let's back up again because it's pretty cool. That stride struck off with the right hind. And there's the change to the left hind. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. So that was the result of that. I thought it was really, really good. And there were two things that really helped Marianne in that. He's got his eyes closed there. That looks better. One was the impulsion and being effective. And now she can start to do this in farther distances, and it's gonna work. And if he figures out again that he can slow down when he's 28 feet away, Marianne's gonna be able to toss the rope or shorten the rope and reestablish it at lighter phases. So I told Marianne that was a nice clean change, and I would be unabashedly okay sending that to anybody for some nice feedback. And she said, but I had to toss the rope. And I'm like, yep, you won't have to for much longer because he's going to believe that those lighter phases are in there. So the promise of phase 4 is the promise of phase 1 coming up next. And there's a great, really a great Saturday Night Live sketch. I'm going to date myself. The Saturday Night Live sketch, I believe it was Will Ferrell, and it was back in when he was maybe his first or second year on the show. And it was the Hey Be a Buddy sketch. Does anybody remember that? So he's in the backyard and he's the kids, it's like a neighborhood cookout or something, and they're talking. And it was one of those sketches that wasn't very funny, but I just always remember it. And he says, hey kids, be a buddy and don't climb on the shed. And the kids are all climbing up on the shed, and you don't even see him. It's like fake off camera. And of course the kids ignore him. And so he goes, hey kids, be a buddy, don't climb up on the shed. And he keeps talking with everybody. So, hey, he does it like 8 times. And finally he just loses it. I told your kids, he just goes bananas. That's the whole sketch. But it was kind of like, it just made me laugh because it was like phases, phase 1, nothing, nothing, nothing. And so they just ignore it because there's no regular phases. And horses are so good at knowing what happens before what happens. That's how they survive. They know if you're consistent, they know phase 1 builds on phase 2, and phase 2 builds on phase 3, and phase 3 builds on phase 4. What happens if we're not secure with that ourselves is we go phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, gosh, it isn't working, phase 4. And that's where we get a lot of tension and a lot of horses feeling like they're getting a bad deal. So each phase builds on itself. So the question I get a lot, especially around level 3, 4, is, when do I move my feet and when is it not okay to move my feet? A guideline, and it's not always, but a guideline is phases 1, 2, and 3, keep your feet still. Phase 4, you may have to move your feet to use phase 4 in order to touch. Or get handy with your 45 so you don't have to move your feet and you look like more of a leader. Or shorten your rope and ask again so that you don't have to move your feet, especially on the circle game. The circle game's way, way more effective if you cannot run towards your horse. It looks predatory and you lose your circle. So I hope that made a fair bit of sense there. I have not forgotten Marianne. Marianne asked me to get this video to her, and I will. I just haven't uploaded it to YouTube yet. It was too long to send by text, Marianne. So I'm very excited to see what happens with Marianne after this. She was the one also to remind you, if you saw it, was working on circle game out at the 45 with cones as targets, and it was working really, really good. But when you're asking something even more athletic like this, we need to have a higher quality communication about speed. And that's how we did it. So good, Marianne, very good. There is another thing here that Marianne's been working on. I don't know if you guys were looking carefully, you saw a jump log over here. That was placed perfectly, but we ended up not needing it. So I'm going to go back to the video here. Replace spotlight. Zoom put a new button on here, makes it easier for me to go back and forth. So if you watch Marianne and you've been watching previous things, or you've studied a little bit of the circle game in level 3 or 4 with Pat recently, you'll watch Marianne. Now, don't watch Kid. Kid's gorgeous, I know, but watch Marianne. She backs straight up to 6 o'clock after the horse passes noon. And then right here, Marianne's got her arm and her leg out to 4 o'clock. And what we were doing just previous to that was Marianne was actually walking out towards 4 o'clock and resending the shoulder, which would send Kid right over that jump log to help him on that flying change. So if you do that, there's a little bit of straightness that happens on the change of direction. So I don't mean to blow your minds, but it's worth seeing because it's pretty powerful. So here's a diagram. And let's see here, how do I make that bigger? Let's make it so you can see the whole circle. Is that the right button? It's usually up there. That's not it. I like something. Send feedback. How about view full screen? There we go. All right, that's in place. So what Marianne did was she walked backwards for the change of direction. The horse came around 12 o'clock, went to about 10 o'clock, change of direction as Marianne was backing up. Right here, when Marianne had 2 eyes, she sent the horse to the new 4 o'clock and then walked out. Now, I know that doesn't look like 4 o'clock anymore, but the arrow should probably be over here. And then started moving out that way. And it caused the horse to have a little bit of moment of straightness right in here into the new circle. The new circle would be right over here. And it allows a horse on a change of direction for flying change, and this is the level 4 flying change exercise, to have that moment of straightness to help them with the lead change. So here's what it looks like. And I think this is me doing it and I recorded this today. So again, I have to apologize. I'm not in very professional attire. But here's me doing it with sticks. I was being a little lazy and I just did a swish. So right here, I'm walking back to 6 o'clock and I'm planting myself, sending to the 8 o'clock. And now watch, look, I'm walking down there at 8 o'clock. See it? See my marching? And that allows the horse right there, a moment of straightness to make the change. And there's the flying change right there. Kind of hard to see with all the dust because he did it right at a, so there he picked up the wrong lead, the other lead, and there's the flying change. Then he changed again. That was beautiful. Okay, so let's see that again in real time. So there I am going backwards at 6 o'clock, sending to 4 o'clock, and walking out to 4 o'clock, pushing his shoulder. And there's his moment of straightness. And he didn't do the change. And there's the change. Oop, not yet. There. Oh, it's coming up. Come on. There's the change. He finally did it. He had that moment of straightness there. Okay. So that's a good example of that. Now here's Mike. And I'm not sure, but I think this is the first time Mike has ever played with sticks. And here's Mike's flying change. Send, he's walking out, getting them really going here. There goes Mike back to 6 over here, and whee, there's the flying change. And then Mike got greedy, did another one, and there's the flying change, which is a little cleaner. Good job. Okay, so a little bit of, as it's a development issue too. We don't have to be that loud with our tools all the time. But that's an exaggeration, right? An exaggeration to teach. And then we can start to refine that now that Sticks is getting that pretty consistently. He was tired when I did it. And so he was doing drop to trots, which is fine. It's simple changes. And he's got that in him really nicely, I think. So questions, comments, concerns, things that didn't make any sense about all of that. I think if you raise your hand, I think I can call on you or get you back over to gallery view so I can see everybody. Oh, hi, everybody. It's that awkward moment when there's no questions. Go ahead, Nancy.
So if that was an audition, if you were to send that in, the fact that Sticks didn't change right away, but he eventually, I mean, he was flying when he changed, and he did get it. Mm-hmm. Would Loren count it?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay. All right. So it doesn't have to be at the exact minute where they change the direction and go the circle the other way.
I think as long as you're getting them, you're getting them. Now you might get the comment like maybe put a jump pole out, or she might say round that turn a little to help him get it more towards the center. Because good.
If she passes me, I don't care.
I love your attitude, Nancy. Good, better, best. Never let it rest. Yeah. And if you're getting flying here, I mean, your horse needs to be mentally collected to do a flying change. Your horse needs to be emotionally collected to do a flying change. Your horse needs to be physically collected to do a flying change. That's why it's in there. So if they're a little late, we don't want perfection's overrated. So especially in the audition process, don't get stuck on perfection. It's a spiral curriculum, which means if something was a little not exactly as good as you want it, don't let that stop you from sending it in. Send it in, because there's plenty of time to go back and refine later. I'll be honest, I didn't tell anyone I passed my level 4 until a year after I passed my level 4.
Why?
I didn't think it was good enough.
Well, you didn't have to show anybody.
I know.
You could just
But
wave
isn't
that black string.
But isn't that human nature?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
just talking with, I wasn't talking with, I did a session with Karen Rolfe. She's wonderful, by the way. Has anybody experienced Karen or been to clinic or seen any of her stuff? It's really good. I recommend it. Yeah, she's really good. And she talks about brain gremlins. And when I first heard that, I thought, oh, that's really stupid. But then I thought, that's a perfect example of a brain gremlin right there. That little voice in your head that maybe isn't the most healthy thing that stops you from doing something. You know, that voice that says, oh, you're not good enough. Oh, you shouldn't show people that video, Tom, because he didn't do a clean change. That's a brain gremlin. So I've kind of laughed at that at first, but now I'm like recognizing more of them in me. It's like, well, of course you're just, it's great. Come on. So yeah, Nancy, that's an excellent question. And my level 1 got really good when I passed my level 2. And my level 2 got really good when I passed my level 3. So it kind of just, brings you along. These are all the same things. Level 1, you've heard this before, I bet. Level 4 is level 1, just with more excellence. Well, it really is true. The same things we set up in level 1 are being done in level 4. It's just a circle send. It's just a maintain gate on the circle game. Just happens to be at a canter is all. Simple, right? Thanks, Nancy. It's a great question. I got a question for you guys. How do you think of, like if you're a carrot person, in other words, it's against your nature to, or it feels funny to you to bring up phases all the way to phase 4. If you're that type of person, how do you get over that? What do you think of that? I lost my the rest of my page here. Hold on. There it went. So you can answer it in the chat, or you can raise your hand and answer it. How do you, if you're more of a carrot person, or in other words, you have problems bringing yourself up to do an effective phase 4, how do you help yourself with that? How do you bring that? How do you think of that? Somebody just typed in, to be clear is to be kind. That's a great, I never thought of it that way. That's a great, to be clear in your phases really is a kindness, because it's fair. Love that. To me, it felt like acting for a while. It's like, all right, well, I'm just going to emulate this. It doesn't feel good. And then all of a sudden I realized, wow, that really helped the horse feel more calm and connected, and the horse felt safer. So I saw the end result in my horses and other horses, and I thought, oh, okay, I can be that, because I'm more of a carrot person. What about someone who's more of a stick person? Just right out to phase 4 all the time. How do you balance that? These are hard questions, aren't they? So go ahead, Pat. Pat, unmute first,
Okay.
and then Cheryl, you'll be next.
Okay. I think that I found myself, what I had to do was consciously slow my phase 1 down, so that I just gave the horse a little more time, and then he responded better, even if I had to go to phase 4. So I just was maybe going through my phases too quickly and not giving him a chance. But I mean, I'm not being in phase 1 forever. Just, I guess I had to learn to be just a little more patient than I was.
That's good. That's good. So being aware of your timing, yeah?
Yeah.
And that helped you to see that. Val just typed in seeing results of each. That's motivating. Susan, I'm going to answer Susan's question and then Cheryl next. And I'm sorry, Cheryl, you'll be right after this because this was just came in the chat. How do you get them not to be offended by pressure? Is it an issue of not being clear? Yes. And also, I don't, so when it's clear and fair, right? One of our guiding principles is the attitude of justice is being effective. And so if you don't find that effectiveness, it can seem very unfair to a horse. I remember growing up in my house, it was the spatula. Getting spanked with a spatula was just like this thing, and it was in phases. Like my mom said, now if you don't eat your vegetables when dad comes home, it's gonna be the spatula. And so that was phase one. And it was clear. And it was always like, all right, well, you know, and there was some other warning and some other warning. And then it was like, that's it, spatula time. And I never forgot that. And what I remember most about it was the spatula didn't hurt. And my parents loved me. The spatula, I mean, if they used the spatula on me, it was just a little bit. I mean, it was never any big deal. But the thought, the promise of that pressure and the thought of that made me more respectful of that light pressure. Now, I know I'm mixing up things, right? Human versus animal and horse and their world, human world. And you know, and I just use that as an example. It's not that my parents beat me or anything. I think I turned out okay. But that's what horses do with each other out in the field. And my mare Peaches, she doesn't have a mark on her. And those other horses respect her. She just flicks her ear and says, you should go that way. And the geldings go, yeah, we're there, man. Because she's been very clear and very, very, very the same every time. She's been so consistent with her phases with our herd that they believe her when she goes like this. And then she can have that lightness. And it turns out it's politeness. So that's it. And the other thing is, you can lose a little calmness to get your responsiveness, and that's okay. So your goal isn't to not have your horse not, you know, be calm all the time. Your calmness will come right back after you get your effectiveness and your light phases. So it's okay to lose a little calmness to get the effectiveness. It's all a balance and a pendulum that swings back and forth. All right, Cheryl. Cheryl's hands up. Thank you, Susan. That was a great question. I really appreciated that.
Okay, I'm not sure that. I believe so.
Would you say that again? You broke up just a bit.
Am I unmuted?
You're good. I can hear you.
I'm just was going to reinforce what the other woman said, is that I just have to think and slow myself down. Be calm, be kind. I really like that. And I think that helped me to not be such a stick person. So it was pretty much what she said.
Great.
So,
thank you, Cheryl. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how to put the hand down.
Oh.
So if I can't stay up, I'm sorry.
I can lower it for you. There you go. That's cute. Yeah, and that's the thing too. Horsenality comes into this too, guys, because gosh, if I put that kind of pressure on a right brain horse, especially a right brain introvert horse, that might not be appropriate for that particular horse. But I'm not afraid to use phase 4. It just looks different. Like there's a horse recently we were working out with this week that was very, very, very right brain. And if you use too much pressure, they would just like freeze and shut down. So we can still use the phases. It's just the phase 4 is just a touch. That particular horse, if I'd have taken my 45 and thrown it at him, that might have been too much pressure. So you do have to kind of make this right for the horsenality that you're dealing with in the moment. The other side to that coin is, and I've talked to Pat about this too, is I want as my horse trusts me to do these phases correctly, the moment I'm not ready for phase 4, is the moment that horse doesn't feel safe with me. And so I'm going to repeat that because it's pretty profound. The moment I'm not ready for phase 4 is depending on the horse, is the moment that they don't believe that I can keep them safe. Because that's what the lead horse in a herd is doing, is proving to everyone that they're the safety net. They're the icon of safety. They're the horse that's going to keep them safe. So we tap into that. This is some kind, it's Pirelli something horsemanship. Natural, that's it. Pirelli natural horsemanship. I heard Linda say that a couple of times. I thought it was funny. What's the name of this thing again? Oh yeah, natural. And so we tap into that, and it's not human, it's horse. So that falls into that category of, can we think like a horse and not anthropomorphize, but then also not be autocratic or chauvinistic in our approach as well. So that's a challenge, right? And but I've seen so many horses just melt and connect, and we had another one tonight. Krista's here, but I don't think I see Donna. Nope, Donna's not on yet. She probably had to work. The horse Ollie has 2 personalities. He's a big warm blood. He's gorgeous. Oh man, I love Ollie. But several trainers have rejected Ollie because he charges, and there's 2 sides to Ollie. So I'm gonna let you guys figure out what horsenality this is as I describe Ollie, and you can kind of come up. So a horse that charges, a horse that has people think that don't know much about natural horsemanship. He has 2 personalities. Sometimes he's the nicest horse in the world, and other times he is just running you over and won't move, and kicking, and yep. So if you're thinking left brain, you got it right, and if you're thinking introvert, you got it right. But he's huge. I saddled him today, and I felt like the stirrup was like up here on my head. Yeah, you guys that have large horses, you know. I don't know how many hands he is, but he's gigundous. But he's been great. He's been great with the Pirelli stuff. But the other side of Ollie came out tonight, and it was just left brain introvert. He's like, I'm not moving my feet, and you can't make me. And so if you make him, of course he charges, of course he kicks, of course he gets all big. But we knew what to do, made it his idea. And then he was like, it took 3 seconds, and he was like, oh, okay. And he was back to like light and polite and really, really nice. So, it's kind of knowing what to do for the horsenality and how to give those phases and be effective. It's just really important. I'll close this part by saying, unless somebody else has a question, I remember the moment I was not effective. It was with Spark, and I was just walking him. I was just leading him somewhere, and one of my mentors came up and said, "You're going to need to find it within yourself to be effective with that horse." And I was just leading him. Well, I was leading him, but he was like hanging back, and I was pulling him. I wasn't leading him. So there's that make instead of being a partner. And really, I couldn't find it in me to reach back there and tag him and say, don't lean on that halter. Because I was just not ready to be effective. I'll never forget that moment. It really, really stuck. That shortly after that, I did figure out, I can be that, and it is appropriate. And then the relationship got even better with my horse. So phases and effectiveness, that probably should have been the title for this. But then when you say phases and effectiveness, people go, you're just going to smack my horse. It's not that. Well, excellent. If there are no more questions, I'm going to turn the recording off, but don't forget to get over to Pirelli.com, because the programming that's coming out is really, really, really good. I'm very pleased with what's happening. And if you have a chance to interact with Ryan Fouts, thank him, because he is really doing a good job putting these virtual courses together. I'm really pleased, and so is everybody. And come see us on tompompei.com and Pirelli.com, of course. And I hope I see you soon at one of our events. So you guys can stay if you want. I'm going to stop the recording and we can go to happy hour.